Welcome to the Militia Gaming community. I'm Trigger, and this is my summit guide for the LA Getaway Summit in the Crew 2. Let's go! Alright, my goal with these summit guides is to help you guys get platinum rewards every single week. And usually I put this guide out before the summit goes live. Unfortunately, this week we had a brand new season and the Crew 2 did not share any of the summit details with us because many of the events were actually the new agency events. So I couldn't work on this before I got a chance to look at the summit. Therefore, this summit guide came out today. But before I start, I just want to mention that I usually stream my full summit runs on Tuesday nights when the summit releases. Again, because I wasn't able to prepare for this one, we weren't doing that this week, but I will return to that process next week. Alright, let's get into it. First up is the LA River Slalom. For this slalom, I will be using the Pagani Zonda Hypercar, and this is the car that I have the most control with, and I have a full set of scorebreaker parts for hypercars, making it the obvious choice. The scorebreaker set is more important than the car choice. Choose a vehicle that you have a full set with and you will score decent as long as you drive on the correct side of the pylons and finish on time. It really helps to have the affix stat skilled as well. My skilled affix is maxed out on these parts at 10% bonus per part, with a total of 7 parts, and that's 70% increase in score. I managed to get 24,391 points in the summit with these parts. And lastly, my Zonda Pro settings are like this. Next up is the Downtown LA Escape. This escape is best completed using a drag car. That is, of course, if you can control it. My best distance was made using the Corvette Stingray. However, if you can't control the drag car well enough, you can definitely use a hypercar of your choice. Just know that to get 150,000 points on this event, you're going to want to get around 13,000 yards away from the start. With the Stingray, I was able to manage 16,000 yards, which rewarded me with 155,000 points. The path I take is in this full clip. My Stingray Pro settings are like this. Next up is the Highland Park Slalom. For this one, yet again, I recommend having a full set of scorebreaker parts. Also, just like the first slalom, make sure you have the affix stat called skilled on all your parts. For me, the best option again is going to be the Zonda. Take some time to practice this route. It is a little bit tricky, but once you understand where you're going, it becomes a little bit easier. I managed to score above 30,000, which gave me plenty of points in the summit. My pro settings for the Zonda look like this. Next up is the Boneyard Stunt event. This is one of the new events for the season, and it requires a lot of skill to score high. The key is to wheelie as much as possible. The best players in the game use this technique to score insane amounts of points. Unfortunately for me, I'm trash at wheelies, so my score really isn't that great. The longer you can wheelie, the better. This is exactly how OzFH got 148,000 points on this event. Shout out to OzFH for sharing his technique. I appreciate you, my man. Go check out Oz's YouTube channel for more expert level gameplay and tips. I'll have a link to that in the description down below. Now there is one other tip I have for this event. If you have a friend that can help you, you can actually have your friend drive all the way to the end and not finish until about 10 seconds left in the event. Only one of you needs to finish in order for your points to count. So while your friend is driving to the end, you can just be sitting in a straight part of this event doing wheelies back and forth, and this is how you score insane amounts of points if you're good at wheelies. Personally, I'm using the KTM 450 EXC, and these are my pro settings. Next up is the Downtown LA East Street Race using the Lancer Evo 10. There are two main cuts for this race. At 10%, you're going to cut right through the alleyway. At 29%, you'll take the jump and continue straight around the building at the end of that street. Make sure you're going to make this long sweeping right-hand turn to keep as much speed as possible for that following turn. Just repeat that process on the next lap and you should be good to go. My Lancer Evo 10 Pro settings look like this. Next up is the new stunt event for street race cars, and this one is a bit tricky for sure. You get points for a variety of reasons in this event, but none that reward score higher than when you're drifting. Drifting corners is by far the best way to increase your score. Shout out once again to the Xbox World Record holder OzFH. He's the one that showed me this particular tip about drifting. As far as the method, you should try to maximize every single corner that you can for a long, big drift. There are several in this course that allow you to rip super long drifts, and also drifting in a street car is kind of tough in that you'll have to hold a ridiculous angle to score. So my recommendation is, if you have the angle and you can see the score counting on your screen, just keep holding that angle until you crash. Even if it turns your car around or you crash into a building, maximize those drift point scores, because when you reset your car, it actually gives you a little bit of a boost of speed and gets you right on the right path. So hold those drifts for the whole corner until you crash. Also, if you have a friend that can do this event, the same exact strategy that works on the motocross event will work on this one. Only one of you needs to finish the event. So if you find a place where you can drift over and over and over again, have your friend drive to the end, finish the event with about 10 seconds left, and you can continuously drift in one part of the map that you can score lots of points in. A really big part of this method is the pro settings. You need settings that will allow your car to drift. And these are the settings that I recommend for the R34 GTR, which is what I used in this event. Next up is the Wolf Territory motocross event using the GSX R1000R. This is the Summit's crossover event, meaning you will have to use a street bike on a motocross event. And this one can be frustrating, but I'll show you my entire run so that you can see the path that I take. The first cut is pretty hard to do, but if you can do it cleanly without hitting any of the trees, it really cuts off a lot of time. The rest of this run wasn't my cleanest, but it's what I captured when making this video. I went back and ran this race again and got the 4th fastest time. My GSX R1000R Pro settings look like this. Next up is the Hollywood hypercar race with no car restriction. I used the Bugatti Divo for this event. This one takes some skill to do really well, but make sure you have Nitro Chemist with the Afix Stat, Pure, and Extra Pump. The extra nitrous will definitely come in handy after some of the sharper turns in this event. There are 3 main cuts that can be done, one of which is really hard. At 2%, you can cut right across the grass. At 11%, you can cut left and jump over the hill. Then at 22%, this is the most difficult cut I've ever tried. You can cut to the left of this little half wall, drop down to the freeway, then use the following hill to jump back onto the path, all the while avoiding all of the trees on the other side. This shortcut is super hard to do cleanly, and it will take some practice. I was only able to hit it clean 1 time, and I messed up the race at the end, so I didn't even get to benefit from the time. I will be going back to do this one once again. My pro settings for the Bugatti Divo are like this. And the last event of the summit is called District Dash. It's another street style stunt event in which drifting is going to be your best shot at high points. I will let my full run play here so you can see my path. My strategy is to get to the center of the course with the roundabout as fast as possible, but still collecting points along the way. Then I spend most of my time drifting in the roundabout a few times, and then to get to the end in time, you need to leave that roundabout area with no less than 1 minute and 5 seconds on the clock. This gives you time to score a little bit on the way to the end. you'll have to use the Porsche 911 Speedster, and my pro settings for that car for this event look like this. And that's it for this one, guys. I know these new events are pretty tricky and it's tough to get a very high score in this, but I do recommend trying this with a friend. It allows you to spend as much time as you can getting points as opposed to worrying about getting to the end of the race or event. If you have any questions about this video or any video, you can hit me up on IG, Twitter, or Discord. I have a link in the description down below for all of those platforms. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to all the Militia subs. I'll catch you on the next one. Trigger out.